Hello, my name is Chris and welcome to a mock-up video. This will kind of give you an idea of the online tutoring process. So this is just a typical sort of writing software, and we have a session essentially through voice. So a lot of information can be passed around. We have file sharing, but the main content is to show you that it's not that different to have a tutoring session online as it is in person. In fact, it's a lot more convenient, and even the information that's being done on the screen can be saved either by screenshot or as a actual video in the process, and you can relook at this information over and over versus a regular person-to-person session where most of the information is already written down and it's up to memory to remember what the process was. So here's a little math session. We're going to go over some information, very basic math idea, but here's the thing, mathematics being accumulative over a period of time, this is actually going to be useful for a lot of people to understand whether you're already proficient in math or you're just starting in math. So let's go ahead and dive in. So here's kind of a basic idea about how we can structure math as a sentence, or how we can compare mathematics to an English language. So let's first observe a regular sentence in English. So we've got the quick brown fox. So let's observe what we see and what we don't see. First, we see letters. These letters make up words. However, we always, or very often, like to not consider the spacing. Without the spacing, we would just have a mesh of letters together. We would know when one word began and when word ended. So in our subconscious, we have this open space. This open space we can consider in mathematics as addition and subtraction. They are in essence the spacing between the words. Well, the words themselves are the actual numbers and letters that we would naturally use. The letters, of course, being variables. So if we were to compare these side to side, we'd have basically a comparison of the being the first word of this sentence and quick being the next. So while in English we have something called a sentence, in mathematics, we actually refer this to a expression. Now, even further, a word in our English dictionary would essentially be translated as a term in our mathematics vocabulary. And this will help you do a few things. In English, we can rearrange this in whatever way we want. We will lose some specific detail to the English meaning. For instance, if I was to consider the quick brown fox, I can technically rewrite this in any way I would like, or leave stuff as they are. But of course in English we lose the meaning of the whole. However, in mathematics it may be necessary to move certain things around. For instance, 2a plus 4a, that can stay the same. Why? Well, they have a's, the variable a, meaning they are something called a like term in which we can combine. So if we have two a's and we're only adding two more a's, we're going to have an actual 6a total. This is when we combine pieces or combining like terms. However, it's a little trickier to consider the -6 plus 8. Well, here's where this is going to be helpful. We can actually consider two things. First, -6 is technically a letter. So what we consider, the space in front of it, is the attachment to the right. We always consider that signs are attached to the quote-unquote word on the right side. That's another reason that we don't really use any space in the front, therefore we don't really use any sign in the front. But we can assume that there is an invisible plus if nothing is visible. However, with this knowledge of attachment, we can actually say that this is +8 if we together associate them and move them in the front, and then we can move the -6. Now we have something a little bit more comprehensive. It's basically saying 8 minus 6. Well, we can do this in our head very quickly. That's 2. Before, we'd have to consider a bit of a play around. we'd have to say, let's subtract 6 from 8, or vice versa. 8 minus the 6. In this case, the bottom rearrangement is a bit more nicer to look and understand. So this is an actual useful space when we're thinking about any algebraic process. Now this is algebra on its very basic form. The big thing is, many of us missed this detail. Maybe it wasn't given to us in the get-go. Maybe it was brushed over by a teacher, assuming that we got all the details right off the spot and never mentioned again. But these are the kind of things we're going to go over, and we're essentially going to be looking at the very basics moving forward so we can build those building blocks and make a better understanding of what's going on in math, where the algebra is coming from, what part is even algebra, and promising from here, mathematics will become fun. I know that sounds like a weird thing to say, but I've done this for about 8 years now, and I've had students that came back, they never thought they'd be going into calculus, but once they understood algebra, calculus became much easier. In fact, algebra is the core component. If we don't understand algebra, and we maybe get a C in the class, just that passing grade, just barely passing, well, if you gotta take calculus and differential, even statistics, you're gonna struggle. But if you take that extra semester and make sure that your algebra is prestige, then the rest of your classes become a cakewalk. Very quick, very easy to understand. And that's really the concept here. I've taught both college algebra students, calculus students, even calculus 3 students. And I promise you that even in Calc 3, the biggest issue is not the calculus, but the algebra they learned 4 years ago. So that's kind of the idea. We want to make sure that your understanding is smooth, complete, ask any question you need to make this understanding, and plenty of these metaphors, synonyms, and examples will be given to make sure that this concept is very well understood by you. And this will help you drastically. So that is a demonstration into how we work these. All sessions are essentially like this on an online basis. Programming essentially is very similar as well. We will work with programming videos, examples in the future, and I'll make an actual introductory video in the future as well. But for now, this is how most of these online sessions will work. Thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you soon.